Live on Facebook.
So COVID-19, food and toiletries are not the only things you need. You know, it's wise to stock up on the basic human needs like food and toiletries, but they aren't the only things you need. What you need is to support your immune system. In this event, we're going to show you how to do that. In this video, we are going to give you 4 key things you need to know about the coronavirus. We're going to talk about the transmission. How is it being transmitted? The symptoms, what signs are you looking for? How to boost your immune system? How do you get your body to be optimal? And your mindset. How do you stay calm in all this uncertainty? Hi, my name is Dr. Nancy Lentine. I've been in practice for over 25 years, and I'm here with Bernice Donata. She's a certified life coach with over 20 years of practice, and we are co-founders of Origin Wellness.
Hi, everyone. So before we get started, I just want to say, I want to invite you to ask any questions below. Dr. Lentine and I, we'll try to answer them as we go along, but if we don't get to them, as soon as we're done, the 2 of us will go in and answer anything you have. So just make sure you're posting them for us, okay? So let's get started, Doc. The first thing
go ahead. And any questions are fine, just don't be afraid to type in those questions. There are no dumb questions.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be here for a few minutes. So like we said, just jump in there right below and post them for us. So let's get started. The first thing we said we were going to talk about was the transmission. There's a lot of hubbub about how it's being, a lot of, mass hysteria about the transmission. How am I going to get the coronavirus? So can you talk to us just a little bit today about how it's, we can come in contact? How is it being transmitted?
Okay. All right. So before I even start about transmission, I just want to back up and say it is a virus. It's a variant of the influenza virus. So the same rules kind of apply for, any viruses. It's a person-to-person spread. It could be spread via surfaces. So if someone coughs or sneezes or blows their nose and touches a surface, and then you go right behind them and touch that same surface, those droplets are aerosolized, and you can contract it by you touching it, putting it to your mouth, rubbing your eye. That's how it's transmitted. And then there's different degrees of transmission. There's a primary degree of transmission, which basically means if Bernice has it and she coughs in my face or is within 6 feet of me, then I could be exposed to it. Then there's a second degree of transmission, whereas Bernice has it, she exposes me. I may not have it yet, but I'm going to go in front of somebody else and expose them. That's called secondary. And then the third type, and it keeps going on, is tertiary, where Bernice exposes me, I expose someone else, and that someone else exposes somebody else. So those are the different modes of transmission.
Okay, great. Then we're talking about symptoms. You mentioned a moment ago that it is a virus, right? And that it mirrors the influenza. So how do we decipher, is it even important to decipher the difference between corona and the actual flu?
Well, absolutely. But a lot of them, there's a lot of overlap. The key things, and what the CDC is saying is fever, and the fever could be at any temperature. It could be a low grade or a high grade fever, cough, and shortness of breath. But, the elderly, they may not have those typical symptoms. They may be like a little bit more confused. They may have other symptoms because they may get a secondary infection. They may have a sore throat, or they may have a rash. So it's not always, fever, cough, shortness of breath. So it's always important to talk to your provider to figure out what's going on.
And I realize this is such a like a small window of symptoms that for like this giant monster of a virus that we're all quarantined in our homes for. So I just want to make sure that, I think it's a really important place to stop and ask if anyone has any questions, because if you think you have it, or if you have someone who has it, or there's something just around this topic, go in below here, pop that question in, and especially around this where Dr. Lentine can specifically answer herself, put that question in below for us. I'd love for you to consider that any question that you ask will definitely be best for the whole community sitting in with us today. So boosting your immune system. Here's the thing, I think, when you and I first sat down to talk about this, it's the one thing, it was the thing that made me come up with this title. I went to the store just a couple of days, maybe 5 days ago. The toilet paper shelves were as if they had just built the store. There were nothing. The meat section had nothing. And I thought to myself, gosh, I've never seen anything like this before. And then I got home and I, as I always do, opened my vitamin cabinet and I'm like, which part of this should I be taking? So why don't you talk to our patients today or our friends just listening to us about what should we be doing here?
All right. Well, the first thing is nutrition. You have to feed your body good nutrition. Think of your body as like a plant with a root system. And what do we do to plants? We fertilize them. So we have to give our body good nutrition. And I'm not talking about like going out and buying cans of food with all those preservatives. Make fresh things. Like chicken soup is so easy to make. And it's such a great immune booster. You throw a chicken in a pot of water with celery and carrots. I mean, that's your basic stock. That's your basic chicken soup. So beans, lentils, all rich with nutrients. And don't forget, the fruits and the vegetables, it's so important, but everyone's like freaking out that they have to stock up on these canned items, but they're really not the best of nutrition. So that's important to start with that. The next is sleep. You got to sleep. Please don't stay up watching the news. It's just going to drive you crazy. It really is. Don't worry about it. Get to bed early. Your body repairs during sleep. It makes all the important nutrients and it boosts your immune system and gets those natural killer cells to help fight that infection during sleep. And then, yes, Bernice, when you open that cabinet, which one do you take? What are you doing? Well, all right, vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually really not a vitamin. It's actually a hormone. And it binds to every single cell in the body, and including influences our immune system. So it's not uncommon for my patients to be on 5,000 international units daily during the winter because you want to keep your vitamin D levels optimal, ideally between 60 and 80. But if you get sick, double it up. So 10,000 IUs daily while you're sick. That really helps your immune system. Vitamin C, of course, 1,000 milligrams every 2 to 3 hours while you're awake. Oh, and by the way, let me tell you this. Not all supplements are created equal. There's different grades of vitamins. What you get at Costco or a discounted center is going to be a lot different than what you're going to get at a doctor's office. In order for a doctor's office, in order for a nutraceutical company to sell to a doctor, there's certain testing that needs to get done before they're allowed to have that doctor sell it at their office. So there's different grades. So just be careful. Don't cheap out on your supplements. I tell my patients, I'd rather you take a good supplement every other day than a bad one every single day because you're just wasting your money. Anyway, so vitamin C, vitamin D. There's another product that we use a lot at my office. It's called OPC3. And what that does is it actually helps the vitamin C stay around in your body a lot longer. Then we also use homeopathics. There's homeopathics for viruses, for bacteria. There's homeopathics to boost your immune system. We just got a shipment of a homeopathic that just tailors the flu and COVID-19. Other things can be peptides. Peptides is a new and growing field, and that also can help boost your immune system. And then last, but certainly not least, is IV vitamin therapy. Not all vitamins that we ingest get 100% absorbed. What I absorb is different than what you absorb, Bernice, or the next person. So, and there are a lot of things that influence that. people with chronic illnesses such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, people with autoimmune disease, or the elderly, they all have a decreased ability to absorb their nutrients. If someone's diagnosed with leaky gut or candida, or patients that are on anti-inflammatories such as Advil or Motrin, they're going to have a problem absorbing their nutrients. Patients with reflux or GERD, they also will have it. And if you're on medications for GERD, also inhibits not only the nutrients that the supplements that you're taking, but also the nutrients from your foods. And then if someone's toxic, if there's a lot of chemicals that the body's trying to get rid of, that's going to compete with the absorption for nutrients. And getting back to nutrition, I should have mentioned that earlier. You know, if you can, choose organic whenever possible. Those pesticides that they spray on the fruits and vegetables, they are also, your body has to get rid of them. It's not natural to have them in our body. So IV vitamin therapy for those patients it's so vitally important. And, you know, one of the patients are like, well, what are the side effects of, you know, the IV vitamin drips? I was like, energy. So you got to be careful. You might have too much energy. So we try not to have it too. I was always tell my patients that don't go home and clean the house because you have all this energy. So just be really careful on that. Because now you gave your body like this a boost of food that it hasn't had in a long time. So patients feel really good. And they're especially important for patients that, you know, want to be better yesterday. So if you're sick, you can get those IV vitamin therapies. But also, even if you're not sick, if you're one of those patients with the chronic illnesses, it's good to come in just to prevent, you know, from getting sick. Or if you do get exposed, it lessens your symptoms.
And as you know, Dr. Lentine, I was one of those patients 2 weeks ago. I was burning high fevers that, you know, and I just wasn't feeling well, and I could not get myself past it. I went into the second week, which I kept saying, I haven't been this sick in so long. Like, I can't remember the last time. And I came in and I had the Myers cocktail, the IV therapy that you're talking about. And it was the one thing that really boosted me back. Like you said, I was able to come home in 2 days and I cleaned my house. And thank God, because after being sick for 2 days, there were quite a few dust bunnies.
Oh, so you didn't listen to what I said.
I did not listen. I'm not a good listener. Only when I'm sick, I'm a good listener.
Yes.
So, which brings me to my next point. There is a lot of hype here, and I want to just take this. This is for me is twofold. I want to talk about what are some other simple measures we can we can do to prevent becoming infected. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about you know, the social distancing and why it's really not hysteria.
No, it really shouldn't be. You know, it's just simple precautions that we should have been doing all along. I mean, this is just simple 101 basic hygiene and, you know, protecting yourself. Now, you know, when I travel or if I go somewhere in my car, I always carry, whether, you know, it's a hand sanitizer or a Ziploc with some wipes in it, you know, just to make sure, just to clean things up. Like when I go to a supermarket, automatically I'm cleaning that carriage because I don't want to be touching anything. You know, now
I've done that.
I know. And now, you know, if you don't have a mask, I mean, the masks are few and far between. A lot of the pharmacies are out of them. You know, a simple scarf is fine. Just wrap that scarf around your face and you're protecting yourself, your face and your nose, and you'll be okay. You know, wear some glasses and, you know, you're protecting yourself that way. So that'll work. Also, you know, essential oils. You know, we're always diffusing essential oils in our office, and I do it at home every single night. There's essential oils that I have on. You know, eucalyptus, tea tree oil, peppermint, lemongrass, oils, thieves, orange. All are great antibacterials, antiseptic essential oils. And then, of course, the hand sanitizers, like I mentioned earlier. And, yes, right now at the moment, you can't really get the hand sanitizers. So you can kind of make your own up. So, alcohol, you could put in them, hydrogen peroxide, betadine, Hibiclens. All those are great hand sanitizers. So you don't necessarily have to get those little pump things because that's all, they are. You could just make your own.
Yeah.
And then when you come home or if you're, at work, constantly wash your hands. Surgeons wash their hands for like 5 or 10 minutes, but you could do it for like 2 minutes and you just, wash everything, wash around each finger in your hands.
Nails.
And you're underneath your fingernails, especially, is a harbor for germs. So, hand washing is, very important.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't think most of us really get the gravity. Of course, we go to the bathroom and it's natural at this age, hopefully, that people are washing their hands, but we don't get the gravity of just stopping. Like I come in the house at the end of the day and after being sick, I'll tell you something, I stopped touching doorknobs. I stopped touching railings. I stopped touching those things. And the second I come in the house, I got to wash my hands.
Yes.
So it's such a critical piece it's so simple, but it is one of the ways in which you talked before about the transference of these viruses, and it's not just a coronavirus.
Right.
So I know that Dr. Lentine has just given all of you a ton of information. It would be reasonable at this point that there would be some questions. So don't forget, just make sure you're putting those questions down below for us. As soon as we're done here today, we're all going to go back in and sift through those and sort, and we'll answer them as soon as we get a chance to. I'm going to talk a little bit today about mindset. I think this is ties into what Dr. Lentine was saying before about stress. I had a friend who sent me a text message yesterday and she was like, did you see that? Did you see? Oh my God, the whole town was shut. And I was like, no, I don't have the news on in my house. I know what's happening. There's food in my refrigerator. My kids are here. I'm happy. I don't need the news. These types of things, like Dr. Lentine was talking about before, they provoke stress. It's like an anxiety that goes through your body. Your mind just, you'll hear something in the news and your mind just starts to race. I had another patient the other day, we were coaching, and she was telling me about the news, and she wonders if she came home and brought it to her kids and her husband has a respiratory, and she just was perseverating about a story that was in the future, something she was worried about but hadn't actually come to fruition yet. So the mindset in these areas and during this very difficult time is one of the critical components. You talked before, Don, maybe you can say another few words before I dive into this about what stress does to the body and why it's so important to manage it right now.
That's a great question. Stress, believe it or not, lowers your immune system. Your body is just fighting and it's in a fight or flight situation, and it's not looking after what we're being exposed to. So the fact that we're always stressed, it just makes sense that our body is more vulnerable to illness. And you really have to support your adrenals, which I should have mentioned earlier, as far as some good nutrients, is, if you are stressed or if you're feeling stressed, there are a lot of great supplements to support your adrenals. Ashwagandha, rhodiola, L-theanine is great for anxiety. Melatonin if you can't sleep. Phosphatidylserine is also very good. So those are great nutrients to help support your adrenals.
Yeah, and it's so important. We have something that's called a parasympathetic nervous stress reaction. And what happens is blood flow, or more of your blood flow, will go to your brain and your heart, and it says fight or flight. It restricts blood flow to some critical organs like your liver, your kidney, your gut. And you can imagine how over a prolonged period of time, the impact that would have on your body. The problem is that we don't often see that. We don't often see the mechanism. I always say there's a pretty watch, but there's a mechanism behind it that isn't as pretty. And that's kind of, if you can think of it that way, that's what's happening. And so you have your everyday stressors, right? We were joking before earlier, Doc, when we were talking about how we tell our kids, the bus is coming, hurry up, you got to get up, you got to get dressed, right? We have those normal everyday stressors, or we're stuck in traffic and we're late for a meeting, or, we forgot to sign a form for one of our kids. Those are our normal everyday stressors. In a time like now, when there is a mass amount of certainty, we have no food on our shelves, there's no toilet paper, people are running out of the basic necessities of stuff, and we're quarantined, most of us, to our homes. It's reasonable that there would be a heightened sense of stress. So I was thinking today, what are some of the things that I can do with my own family? What are some of the ways that I'm, as even as a coach, looking at the situation to distill down any of the hysteria, I call it hysterical anxiety, that I may be feeling. So the first thing I do is I'm looking for the opportunity in it, right? I want to know what opportunities are available to me now. What opportunities do I have to spend time with my family differently? What opportunity, how will I choose to spend this time? There's lots of closets that could be empty. Right, that I haven't gotten to. My daughter wants to paint her door purple, whatever it is, it's just spending that quality time. And, what can I learn? What can I learn about myself? What can I learn about the environment? What lessons are in this for me? Like I said, I'm no longer touching railings, no longer touching doorknobs. That might be a little extreme for some of you, but not for me. And then how can I help my community? What is it? Who can I reach out to? What resources do I have? Like right now, spending a minute with you, I'm helping my community. And that makes me feel good. As you and I said before, the news, if you must watch the news, give yourself a time frame, give yourself a limit, put yourself on a social media budget of a maximum of 30 minutes. And trust me, you will learn everything you need to know in 30 minutes because they're just boom, boom, boom. They're just giving it to you now. So 30 minutes is—
And they're repeating themselves over and over again.
Over. That's why I said 30 minutes and cut yourself off, because in 30 minutes, you probably will have heard the same thing 3 times, so it's really not beneficial beyond that point. If you want to turn it on for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunchtime, and 10 minutes at night, trust me, it's enough. And so the other thing is to unplug, consider just unplugging from all social media, because we all know at this point, we're not just getting it from our televisions. We're getting it on our Facebook feed. We're getting it in our inbox. We're getting it, the friend calling, mom needs this. And there's all sorts of ways in which this information is coming into us. So being unplugged, maybe choosing to play a game with the kids, or, watching a good movie on Netflix, not regular television, because you could be tempted. Just unplugging overall and just taking advantage of this time. When I'm 50 years old, I said this earlier, when was the last time you had an excuse to do nothing for a prolonged period of time? Like, we have an indefinite excuse right now to do nothing. So that's my spiel, on stress and mindset. I know that Doc and I, again, have given you a ton of information today. If you have any ideas that you'd like to share with our community about how you deal with stress, or how you're having a little fun during this time, please, I'd love to hear those ideas. I'm sure Doc would love to hear them. I'm sure the community would love to hear them. Pop them in below for us. Let us know you're still paying attention and we haven't lost you. Another critical piece of information, I just wanted to tell our viewers today a little bit about what just because there is all this hysterical anxiety, about what we're doing in the office. What measures are we taking to keep everyone, both our sick and our well, and our staff, safe? Can you tell them a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, we have 2 centers. We have our Origin Wellness Center, which is on the 2nd floor, and we have Dr. Lenteen's family practice on our 1st floor. And so what we're doing is we're actually flip-flopping the practices a little bit. So in our Origin Wellness Center, we're actually bringing our sick patients upstairs so they can be isolated from our well patients, because we don't want to infect anybody. And what we're doing is, if you are sick, just give our office a call, let us know what you're feeling, what your symptoms are. You could speak to a nurse if you'd like. And if you'd like to come in, we'll put you on the schedule. We're only seeing one patient at a time in the Origin Wellness Center on the second floor. And just let us know that you're in the parking lot, and we'll call you when we're ready to see you. You go upstairs, you'll see our medical assistants, and then the provider. And then if you want to come in for an IV vitamin drip, we're doing it up in our wellness center for our sick patients. For our well patients, we don't want them to feel threatened that they may get sick. So we're seeing them down on the first floor. And, we can do our IV vitamin therapies for our well patients. If you want to come in, boost your immune system. If you're feeling fine, then we'll see you on the first floor. But if you're not, we'll see you on the second floor. Remember, if you or your child has a fever, any kind of respiratory symptoms, shortness of breath, or you've been in contact with someone with known COVID-19, please just feel free to give us a call. We're also doing virtual appointments. If you feel like you don't want to come in, that's fine too. Medicare just approved virtual appointments, so we don't see that there's going to be an issue. And we'll be happy to help anyone with anything, any questions, concerns. Please feel free to call us, email us, send some comments below. No questions are silly. We're more than happy to help everyone.
Yeah, that brings us to an interesting point about, so how are we handling? I just wanted to say, circle back to that for a second. In this world, like you and I are doing right now, there's a video chat. And just like this conversation is free flowing, this is exactly the way it would work for the one-on-one. We call this a Zoom call. And if you had an issue with being able to sign on, or technology or something like that, as Dr. Lentine said, we will also offer you, a quick tutorial on how to get on. Really, it's a click of a link and you're sitting in a virtual conversation with Doc. It's very, very simple. So to ensure that you stay updated on these new uncharted waters, please be sure to check our Facebook page. And again, if you have any questions, you want to make any comments, suggestions, or anything like that, make sure you're dropping them in the section below. For us, Doc and I, after we're done here today, will go back in and answer all that for you. Please check your spam and junk mail folders to ensure that our emails are getting to you. And we'll provide you with an up-to-date information as we receive it, through any news, like, the CDC, any updates on, timeframes. Right now, none of us know even how long this is going to last. So any information that we get, we promise to pop back in here and let you guys know. In conclusion, I just want to thank everybody today. Doc, thank you so much for your time. I think it's so important for the community to hear from you on this topic. Please, everyone.
Thank you
thank you
for everything you've done to get this going.
Thank you. It was a small task, but please, everyone, keep yourself safe and healthy, and don't forget to post your questions for us. Doc and I will be looking out for them, as we said throughout the Facebook Live today. We will